Hey y'all, look here. Got a trailer in the shop, belongs to a buddy of mine. Nice long trailer. Now I got this thing here because he's fixing to use this trailer to haul as many Ford Broncos as he can. This is a buddy of mine, owns a construction company in town, and he collects first gen Ford Broncos. And he found out the other day, he's trying to get as many Broncos on here as he can, but he found out the other day that he could get one more if he could drive the back tire of one Bronco to about right here. Either like right at that pipe or just slightly past that pipe rail. And we're feeling confident because that toolbox has always been there and it's never been an issue. Feeling confident that putting something here to drive a ramp to drive that Bronco, back that Bronco up on, would not interfere with the tow vehicle. There would be room. So there's a couple things about it. Whatever ramp we build to do this, he's not going to want it there all the time. It needs to be removable. It needs to be strong enough to hold up the back end of a Bronco. And he doesn't care about this toolbox for this particular use. I can leave the mounting of the toolbox. It's got decent mounts there, what it's bolted to, and I can leave that alone, but I'm going to take the toolbox off. I'm going to take the toolbox off, and then we're going to come up with a couple of ramps that'll go on here, fabricated to hold a Bronco, and be completely removable. We don't want to weld anything to the trailer. We want to be able to use these ramps to do what he wants to do to get that one more Bronco to fit on there. Looks like he's probably going to be able to get 3 Broncos on here. And then, you know, when he's done, he's going to want to take that off and the trailer is just back to the way it was. So going to have to come up with a plan that'll work. It's going to be some interesting fabrication or design. I love stuff like this, and we'll figure it out. We're going to make it work. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. I cut a piece of 1/4 x 10 flat bar, 41 inches long is what we decided to come out. I've got a piece of 3 x 3 x 3/16 angle iron up here, and I made a mark flush with the front of the trailer. I made a mark right here. I've got a void right there that needs to be filled in, and I wonder if I can do it with what's left over from this piece. I'm going to flip that around and put the mark on the other side of that angle iron for this side, and then we'll cut that out and see. With those pieces made, there's that one and this one right here. I know that I need another set of those for the other ramp. And with 2 of them made, see, obviously I can mirror image these and mark and use the ones I made to mark and cut the other 2. We got a little ramp action cooking here. And that piece that I cut off of there actually does work perfect right here and presses against that pipe like I need it to. Gonna need some 2 x 2 x 3/16 square tubing. Gonna need 4 pieces, 3 1/4 inches long. And what those are gonna do is they're gonna weld to the end of this piece of angle iron, one here and one here. And that's gonna make up that part of the ramp so that I can make another plate with an 1.5 by 1.5 tube, a couple of them, that go down through here, through the top, behind the pipe, through the 2-inch tube, and all the way down this channel. What that's going to do is lock this in so that when there's weight on here, it doesn't lift the other end up. Let's see if this works. Now, it's really nice to be able to set up a stop because I need 4 pieces 3 1/4 inches long, and I'll only have to mark one of them. Set up a stop right here and chop them off. With my ramp laid on its side like this, you can see I've got a 1/4 by 3 flat bar I ran from there to there as a stiffener. And at this part of the build, it's time to put these on. These sleeves that'll be flush at the end. But one thing about this is, up here in the top plate, straight above this sleeve, I'll have to cut a hole. I'll have to cut a hole for an 1.5 square tubing. There's actually going to be 2 of them. There'd be one here too. And if I put those on right now, marking and cutting that hole and getting it lined up is going to be a nightmare. So what I'm doing, I've got my bevel square and I've got my angle, and I'm going to cut a piece of 2-inch tubing only for the purpose of marking where I need to put the holes in the top plate. Got the 872 set up with that miter cut that I measured with my bevel square. So we'll chop that off and we'll have us a marking piece. And while I had the DeWalt 872 saw set up at that angle, I cut the 2x2 by 3/16 tube, and I also cut an 1.5 by 1.5 tube on that same angle, which this will also help me mark those holes. Got both these ramps turned over, and I've went ahead and brought the second ramp up to the same point of fabrication as the first one, and I'm going to mark and cut these holes now. Hopefully within the next little while, those of you that are confused on what's going on, you might start smelling what I'm stepping in here. What you're looking at here is the way I used my 2x2 by 3/16 tube to make a mark in the right place, and then I used my 1.5 to make a mark that's the right size. I just had to put the 1.5 inside of the 2-inch, pretty much centered up, and now we can cut these out. Pretty much all the components of that section are put together, assembled and tacked. The pieces that'll go in this other plate having the two tubes, they'll be going down in like that. And it's going to lock this thing. Like if I try to pull right here, I would be simulating what would happen if a tire was putting weight on the back part of this ramp. And obviously, no matter how much you pull, when that binds against that channel, it's going to hold. So at this point, knowing that the ramps are pretty much, they're done, they need welded, I'm going to go ahead and weld them before I make the other parts. And I'd like to have them welded up when I make the other parts. And you know, if there's anything that pulls a little bit, I can make the other parts to fit it. I got these ramps welded up, and I made the other part that goes down in them. And one of the things, there's a bunch of this I didn't get on video. I welded them ramps up that day, and I stopped after that. And then the next day, we had some stuff to do with a rental property, and I come back and made these the following day. So this kind of got broke up. But I'm getting back to it, and we're pretty much done. One thing I found when I made this insert that goes down into there, I didn't like how tight it was on the tubes, especially in the direction that it doesn't matter. The direction this way, and I ended up on both of them. I cut one side out of that tube and welded in a flat bar like this. And just it's a space that gives it a little more space. The only part of this tube going in these sleeves that's structural is this part. So that side to side was just making it difficult to slide them in and out for absolutely no reason. And this little removing the side of one of those tubes, boy, it sure made it easier to get them in and out, and didn't hurt anything. So I did them both that way. And the other thing that I did on this trailer, now I've never done these before, but he bought these rollers. Let's get it where it's in English. Ultra Steel Jumbo Roller. So these are from Ultra Fab. And I talked to him on the phone about these. I had looked on some YouTube videos and pictures online and seen where people put them up here on a dovetail. And I think they were putting them up here because if you put them all the way in the back where you really need them, they would stick down too far. But my buddy that owns this trailer, he wanted them all the way in the back, and he said just make some kind of bracket where they can be mounted up, and you know, you'd only have like an inch or an inch and a half of the roller sticking down. Because obviously if you took this top part of the roller frame and welded it right there, it seems like that would work real good, But then you got that whole roller, which is like 3 or 4 inches tall, sticking down. If that thing was sticking down like that 3 or 4 inches, and it did happen to drag on an area where maybe you were in dirt or gravel and the roller couldn't roll very easy, it would probably just rip it off. So I don't think you want it sticking down 3 or 4 inches. I think the way I did this, where it's just down like an inch, if he gets where the back of the trailer wants to drag in a low spot, it should just roll. So I think the rollers are a good idea. That's the first set of those I've installed. Now, the next thing that we're going to do that I want to shoot some video of, I got the old B laser up on his trailer. I got the trailer hooked up to the super service truck. So we're going to test these ramps, and the whole idea with the ramps is they need to go on here secure and to hold weight and be backed onto, but nothing welded to the trailer, and that's why they're designed like they are. And I think we're about to find out if that design works. So watch this. I wasn't lined up perfect on this one, but something that I know from measurements is that the Broncos are wider than this Blazer. I was lined up better on that one. But that doesn't matter on what we're doing. What we're doing is trying to get it so that the center of a tire can be drove clear up on top of the center of that pipe pretty much, which it's doing it. And it's working. And I don't have any concerns about this ramp flopping over because of the way these tubes would stop in, lock in, press against that channel.